A warm welcome to all our viewers. I'm your host, Shivangi Mishra, and you're watching another episode of South Asia Focus. Let's begin the show. India and Russia once again underlining the resilience of their long standing strategic partnership, with economic cooperation emerging as a key focus. External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar met Russian President Vladimir Putin in Moscow as both sides reviewed trade, energy, and fertilizer supplies and discussed ways to further strengthen bilateral engagement. The meeting also comes ahead of upcoming high level engagements between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and President Putin at the SCO and BRICS summits.
The India-Russia relationship has remained one of the most enduring partnerships in India's foreign policy. Built over decades, the ties have withstood geopolitical challenges and continue to expand into new areas of cooperation. From defense and energy to trade, fertilizers, technology and strategic affairs, both countries have maintained close engagement. Against this backdrop, Russian President Vladimir Putin held talks at the Kremlin with External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar. During the meeting, Jaishankar said economic cooperation between India and Russia had grown significantly. Putin, meanwhile, thanked Prime Minister Narendra Modi for his role in strengthening bilateral ties and assured that Moscow would continue increasing fertilizer supplies to meet the needs of Indian farmers.
Уважаемый господин министр, дорогие коллеги, очень рад вас видеть, господин министр. Ваш визит сегодняшний подчеркивает тот уровень отношений, который давно на протяжении десятилетий сложился между Россией и Индией. Господина премьер-министра, который уделяет развитию, их много. Один из этих вопросов, и это не только энергоносители, один из этих вопросов, конечно, это поставку удобрений. Мы делаем все для того, чтобы закрыть этот вопрос для индийских фермеров, для сельского хозяйства. Наращиваем эти поставки и готовы это делать дальше.
The discussions also focused on giving greater momentum to economic engagement. S. Jaishankar proposed a stronger focus on implementation and outcomes through the IRI-GC TEC mechanism, calling on its working groups and subgroups to identify specific deliverables ahead of the next session.
Our economic cooperation has grown very significantly. Prime Minister Modi looks forward to meeting you at the SCO summit, then welcoming you in India for the BRICS summit, and in due course, as per your mutual convenience, having the annual summit. So we have, Excellency, I think, a very strong picture of cooperation to present.
The latest engagement comes at a time when India and Russia are looking to further diversify and strengthen their economic partnership. While the two countries have maintained strong strategic ties, both sides are now seeking greater opportunities in trade, investment, and business cooperation.
Russia-India relations are definitely strong historically. They have been facing challenging times. There is no doubt of that also. But at the same time, we managed to cross the barriers which were there. Going ahead, and Minister Jaishankar in Moscow today, the idea is how to expand Russia-India relations more. Especially, we want that Russia should not become so much dependent upon China. So it becomes even more important for India to foster stronger relations with Russia. Same time, Russia also knows that it should not become too dependent upon China. So Russia is also looking for a strong partner like India so that Russia also emerges stronger. So there's a very natural synergy of ties between the two nations going ahead.
With both sides looking to deepen economic engagement while maintaining their strategic partnership, the latest talks underline the continued importance of India-Russia ties. The focus now remains on translating this long-standing partnership into greater trade, investment, and cooperation across emerging areas.
Technology is moving beyond convenience. It is becoming a powerful force for inclusion and empowerment. Innovative solutions are creating a digital vision for people with visual disabilities, while inclusive workplaces are breaking barriers by providing dignified employment opportunities to people with disabilities and transgender youth, proving that accessibility and opportunity can transform lives.
For people with visual disabilities, navigating unfamiliar spaces can be a daily challenge. Turning this challenge into innovation, Grailmaker has developed a QR code-based solution that works like a digital eye, providing audio-based information about surroundings. Inspired by her own journey, founder Aishwarya is using technology to make spaces more accessible, independent, and inclusive.
18 साल से मैं विजुअली इम्पेयर्ड हूँ और मैं जानती हूँ कि पब्लिक प्लेसेस विजुअली इम्पेयर्ड लोग के लिए एक्सेसिबल नहीं है और उसके साथ साथ हम लोग एक एफोर्डेबल सॉल्यूशन लाना चाह रहे थे ताकि सभी इसका यूज़ कर सके। तो इसलिए हमने स्पेसफुल बनाया है जो एक स्मार्टफोन ऐप है। QR कोड से मदद होता है, मतलब ऑडियो डिस्क्रिप्शंस देता है विजुअली इम्पेयर्ड को और इसके साथ साथ साइन लैंग्वेज देता है डेफ एंड हार्ड ऑफ हियरिंग पर्सन्स के लिए।
Once a QR code is scanned, the Grailmaker app instantly provides detailed audio information about the surroundings. The technology is helping people with visual disabilities navigate spaces independently with greater confidence and freedom.
स्पेसवेल का ऐप ने जो बिल्ड किया है वो ऑटोमेटिकली बताता है कि मुझे कहाँ पर QR स्कैन है, तो मैं इजीली अपनी हैंड मूवमेंट से QR कोड स्कैन करके जो भी है डिटेल्स वहाँ आई कैन लिसन टू इट और डिटेल सब कुछ बताता है कि लेफ़्ट साइड यहाँ पर ये है और राइट साइड ये है, मशीन्स है या स्टेप्स है, लोग आ रहे हैं, रिसेप्शन ये और सब डिटेल में बताता है कि यहाँ पर रिसेप्शन डेस्क है, राइट पर जाओ, कंप्यूटर ट्रेनिंग लैब है, सब कुछ डिटेल पे बताता है कि मैं किसी से पूछ ना सकूँ कि यहाँ पर क्या है।
Another Indian startup has developed Navina UT, a smart device designed to help people with visual disabilities navigate safely and confidently. Equipped with advanced sensors and haptic feedback technology, it detects obstacles in real time and provides alerts, enabling greater independence and mobility.
तो ये एक हैंड हेल्ड डिवाइस है जो लाइक पॉकेट में भी आपको फिट होता है। बेसिकली ये केन रहता है ना आपका कन्वेंशनल, जो बहुत बड़ा है, लंबा है, तो उसका रिप्लेसमेंट है। तो ये एक पॉकेट फ्रेंड डिवाइस है, तो क्लिक करने पे ऑन हो जाता है, बीप साउंड आता है और अगर कुछ ऑब्जेक्ट्स आ गए तो सामने तो ऐसा आएगा तो वाइब्रेट करेगा, और कुछ नहीं है तो वाइब्रेट नहीं करेगा। तो ऐसे ही लोगों को दिखेगा, ओके, पता चल जाएगा कि सामने कुछ है ऑब्स्टेकल, तो अवॉइड कर पाए उससे।
While technology is enabling greater independence, a cafe in Raipur city is redefining social inclusion. Entrepreneur Priyank Patel runs 5 restaurants in Chhattisgarh state, providing meaningful employment opportunities to people with disabilities and transgender youth. Through their dedication and talent, these young employees are proving that opportunities, not limitations, define the future.
वो मूलतः उन बच्चों की है या वो मूलतः उन युवाओं की है जो समाज की मुख्यधारा में नहीं शामिल हो पाए अपनी किसी भी आइडेंटिटी की वजह से। वो डिसेबिलिटी हो सकती है, वो उनकी शारीरिक बनावट हो सकती है, वो उनका कल्चर हो सकता है। जैसे हमारे साथ में ट्रांसजेंडर समुदाय के लोग काम करते हैं, हमारे साथ में ट्रैफिकिंग सर्वाइविंग कम्युनिटी के लोग काम करते हैं, हमारे साथ में मूक बधिर समुदाय के लोग काम करते हैं।
This unique initiative is receiving strong supports from the customers. Visitors not only enjoy the cafe experience but also appreciate the effort to create employment opportunities and provide dignity and inclusion for people with disabilities.
जो स्टाफ यहाँ पे है, लाइक ये लोग सपोर्ट करते हैं जो डीफ एंड जो लोग बोल नहीं पाते हैं उन लोगों को। सो ये एक लाइक यूनिक एक्सपीरियंस है बाकी जगह से। सो लाइक इन्होंने एक नया इनिशिएटिव लेने का ट्राई किया है। सो लाइक एक लाइक सपोर्ट टाइप का भी रहता है कि लाइक इन्होंने कुछ स्टार्ट किया है तो लेट्स सपोर्ट।
The combination of technology and empathy proves that with the right opportunities and innovations, every individual can become independent and empowered regardless of the challenges they may face.
And now it's time for Asia This Week, bringing you the top stories shaping the continent.
Bangladesh's veteran politician Mirza Fakhrul Islam Alamgir was sworn in as president on August 21, becoming the South Asian nation's 23rd head of state. A senior leader of the ruling Bangladesh Nationalist Party, 78-year-old Alamgir will reside at Bang Bhavan, the presidential palace in Dhaka. While the presidency is largely ceremonial, Alamgir will serve as head of state and commander-in-chief of the armed forces. Executive authority remains with the Prime Minister and cabinet in the South Asian nation of about 173 million people. Hundreds of rowers showcase strength, stamina and flawless coordination during Kerala's iconic snake boat race, a centuries-old tradition in the southern Indian state. Around 20 wooden boats, each measuring nearly 100 feet and carrying about 100 rowers, sped through Kerala's backwaters as teams competed for the coveted trophy in the traditional sport known as Vallam Kali or snake boat racing. Iran's foreign ministry has cautioned countries against joining the United States' economic pressure campaign against Tehran, saying Iran will use multilateral mechanisms to counter the sanctions. Tehran has been preparing for the measures for several days, issuing increasingly strong warnings that suggested the possibility of a significant military response.
5 years ago, the withdrawal of US-led forces paved the way for the Taliban's return to power in Afghanistan. On August 15, the Taliban marked 5 years in control, calling it a victory over foreign forces and pointing to security after decades of war. But for Afghan women and girls, those 5 years have brought sweeping restrictions, from education and employment to movement and public life. And beyond the women's rights crisis, Afghanistan continues to face humanitarian hardship, economic pressures, and growing tensions with its neighbors. The Taliban entered Kabul as the Afghan government collapsed and President Ashraf Ghani fled the country. 5 years later, the Taliban are marking their return to power with parades and celebrations across Kabul. They point to nationwide territorial control and the end of the foreign military presence as major achievements. But for Afghan women, the Taliban's return has meant something very different, a steady rollback of rights and freedoms. Education has become the clearest symbol of that rollback. Afghanistan remains the only country in the world where girls are barred from secondary and higher education. UNESCO estimates that 2.4 million girls have been excluded from secondary education since the Taliban returned to power. Women have also been banned from universities since 2022.
Since day one, we have been speaking about a generational gap through this educational banning. According to the estimate we have, today 2.4 million girls have now been excluded and banned from accessing secondary education since 2021. This number shows clearly a 200,000 addition since the last school year that we had reported. This is the number of girls who finished primary education with success and naturally could have continued to secondary education, but unfortunately, because of the current policies by de facto authorities, they can't.
And the consequences go far beyond a generation missing school. Women have been pushed out of most public sector jobs and many professions. Restrictions on movement, including requirements for a male guardian in many circumstances, have made access to work, healthcare, and public life increasingly difficult. Women have also been barred from places including parks and gyms. The result is a society where women are increasingly confined to the home.
5 years after the Taliban takeover of Afghanistan, we stand together as a broad cross-regional group of United Nations member states in solidarity with the Afghan people, and we reaffirm our steadfast commitment to a future where all Afghans, without exception, can enjoy the fundamental rights, freedoms, and dignity in peace and prosperity. 5 years on, Afghanistan faces profound human rights, humanitarian, economic, and security challenges, placing immense pressure on the Afghan people and creating risk for the stability and security of neighboring countries and the wider region. The Taliban's systematic repression of women and girls has become a defining feature of the current system. Afghanistan remains the only country in the world where girls are banned from secondary and higher education. The grave abuse of the right to education is also having far-reaching consequences for Afghanistan's economic development and provision of essential public services.
The restrictions on women are now part of a broader human rights crisis. The Taliban have dismantled key institutions created to protect women's rights and human rights, while governance has become increasingly centralized under the Taliban's supreme leader Haibatullah Akhundzada. At the same time, Afghanistan's humanitarian crisis has deepened. Drought, earthquakes, food insecurity, and the return of Afghans from Pakistan and Iran are adding pressure to an economy already struggling with reduced international assistance. The Taliban can claim one major achievement. The country is no longer engulfed in the nationwide war that defined much of the previous 2 decades. But peace has not translated into prosperity. Millions of Afghans continue to need humanitarian assistance, while unemployment, poverty, and food insecurity remain major challenges. And Afghanistan's problems are no longer confined within its borders. Relations with Pakistan have deteriorated sharply, with repeated border clashes and tensions over terror groups adding another layer of instability. Diplomatically, the Taliban remain largely isolated. Russia has formally recognized the Taliban government, while several regional countries have expanded engagement with Kabul. But broad international recognition remains elusive, with women's rights among the key obstacles. The Taliban continue to insist that their policies are based on their interpretation of Islamic law. 5 years after the Taliban returned to Kabul, Afghanistan is quieter in many places than it was during the war. But for Afghan women, the price of that new order has been the loss of freedoms once taken for granted. A generation of girls is growing up without secondary school. Women are disappearing from workplaces and public spaces. And the longer those restrictions remain, the deeper their impact on Afghanistan's future. The Taliban may call August 15 a day of victory. For millions of Afghan women and girls, it remains a story of rights lost and a future put on hold. From blockbuster films and global streaming content to immersive gaming and digital advertising, demand for animation and VFX is expanding rapidly worldwide. India is emerging as a key global hub for this creative economy, combining a large pool of young talent, advanced technology, and competitive production capabilities to create content for audiences across international markets.
Meet Abhinav, for whom every character begins as a blank canvas. What started as a childhood passion for sculpture and painting has evolved into a creative career in animation. Today, he is reimagining the traditional Kondapalli toys of Andhra Pradesh as action figures and animated characters, giving a new life to India's rich art, culture and folklore for a new generation.
I take our old traditional toys. Children are not playing with those toys basically. So what I'm doing here is those are not marketed as toys. So even when I went to Kondapalli when I was in third grade as a field trip, I didn't look at them as toys. I was looking at them as a showpiece. So when I was studying product design, so I thought like maybe I can make them played by children again.
From a hand-drawn storyboard to the digital screen, animation transforms ideas into living characters. Every expression, movement and frame is crafted through hours of creativity, precision and technical expertise. No longer confined to cartoons, animation now powers films, streaming content, gaming, advertising, education and digital media. Over the past 2 decades, India's animation and VFX industry has emerged as a strong and competitive player on the global stage.
To 2026 आज के दिन आई थिंक इंडिया में हम लोग वन ऑफ द बेस्ट इन द वर्ल्ड. हम वेदर अमेरिका हो या चाइना हो या जो भी देश है टेक्नोलॉजी में, एनिमेशन में, VFX में बेटर, उनसे कहीं आगे हम लोग कहीं ज़्यादा आगे हैं. एंड सबसे ख़ास बात यह है कि हम लोग एक क्विक टर्न अराउंड में सेम वही रिजल्ट्स अचीव कर सकते हैं जो दूसरे लोग 1 साल लगाते हैं, हम 6 महीने में हम लोग कर सकते हैं और आधे दाम में कर सकते हैं.
As the animation and VFX industry expands, it is creating a new wave of opportunities for young animators, designers and visual artists. From creative careers and global projects to entrepreneurship, India's growing talent pool is finding new platforms to turn imagination into impactful work.
पहले से मतलब एक्सपैंड हो रहा है इंडस्ट्री, तो फ्यूचर इसमें बहुत ही अच्छा है क्योंकि अभी ज़्यादातर लोग पहले इंडियन कार्टून्स को फॉलो करते थे, अभी तो बाहर के एनिमेज ये सब शो भी हो रहा है, तो अपॉर्चुनिटीज़ तो बहुत ही हैं.
The growing use of VFX across films, streaming series and digital content is opening up exciting new career paths for creative talent, driving strong demand for animators, VFX artists and designers. Mumbai is emerging as a key training hub for the next generation of digital artists, where young talent learns not just software but the craft and technology behind creating world-class visual experiences.
ऑरेंज इकॉनमी बूमिंग इकॉनमी है और हमारे पास सबसे ज़्यादा यंगस्टर्स हैं इस कंट्री में. हमारी कंट्री एक यंग कंट्री कहलाती है. एंड सबसे इम्पॉर्टेंट चीज़ ये है हमारे लिए कि हमारे जो यंगस्टर्स हैं वो उतने ही क्रिएटिव भी हैं और उतने ही एक्साइटेड भी हैं इसके लिए. सो अपॉर्चुनिटीज़ तो बहुत हैं. हमारे यहाँ खुद बहुत से स्टूडेंट्स पढ़ने आते हैं जिन्होंने अपना 10th फिनिश किया है, 12th फिनिश किया है. कुछ लोग विद ग्रेजुएशन भी ये कोर्सेज करते हैं.
Today, imagination is becoming a career and creativity is emerging as a powerful engine of employment. Animation, VFX, gaming and XR are opening new horizons for young talent. As India's orange economy expands, the country is not only creating content for global audiences, but also building a vibrant ecosystem of opportunities for millions of young people.
From preserving traditional art to creating cutting-edge global content, India's creative talent is turning imagination into opportunity, powering the next chapter of the country's orange economy. And with that, we come to the end of this week's episode. See you next week. Till then, goodbye and take care.